Governor Newsom, why do you support the Harris ticket?
Look, I've known Kamala Harris almost 30 years. I've seen her as DA, Attorney General, as U.S. Senator, Vice President, delivering results. She gets things done. She's pragmatic. She's incredibly bright. She's tough, but she's compassionate. She believes in growth and inclusion, and she's been part of this extraordinary 3.5 years with President Biden. It's the Biden-Harris administration, and she has an opportunity to talk now about the future, and I'm looking forward to that on Thursday night.
We will become a rich and great nation again. Thank you. Great honor.
We have the top 1/10 of 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%.
Independents, Democrats, Republicans, bring them all, because I want to talk with all of them.
The things that I've been concerned about in this nation for the last few years have not changed.
We're chatting with Chief National Correspondent for the New York Times Magazine, Mark Leibovich, and Governor Bobby Jindal.
Thank you for having my wife on your beautiful home.
U.S. Senator Joni Ernst.
Hop on the back.
I got my own. I ride. This is not just a prop today. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
Aloha.
Aloha.
To your viewers.
What's so interesting about the Iowa caucuses is it's unique and it's different and it really favors relationships.
That Iowans are filled with common sense.
Governor Terry Branstad, Rick Klein, someone who's been on the show several times, Congressman David Young, the D.C. Shadow Senator Paul Strauss.
Any candidate who is seeking to earn the awesome and sacred trust of the presidency of the United States has to come and engage with the people of Iowa.
Governor Mike Huckabee, Mr. Newt Gingrich, the highest-ranking Democrat in the state of Iowa, Congressman Dave Loebsack, John Huntsman, Senator Joe Lieberman, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Chuck Grassley.
I haven't eaten anything other than fried Snickers. Can't describe it. It's just like going to heaven.
We need to push back to the RNC. This is a dumb way to do it. At the end of the day, Brad Pitt would be in our debate.
I think it's important because it's the first contest.
A potential Clinton Castro ticket.
Whoever the nominee is gets to pick who their vice president's going to be.
It is day one, United Center. As you can see, things are still being set up. The actual convention doesn't start for a few hours yet. Slated to speak tonight, sitting President of the United States, Joseph Biden, obviously speaking on the first night of a convention to pick a nominee is rare. This is unheard of in modern times. Vice President Harris will be speaking on Thursday night to accept her party's nomination. Before then, you will see President Bill Clinton, President Barack Obama, possibly Michelle Obama. So we will be here all week at the United Center here, chatting with state delegates, elected officials, all that, so much more in another exciting episode of Roske On Politics.
She is a fantastic leader, experienced prosecutor, attorney general, U.S. senator, vice president, who wants to lead our country into the future. And on the other side, you got Donald Trump to drag us back into the past. The guy who stands for tax cuts for billionaires, taking away rights from women, and shredding our alliances. And the choice between the two of them cannot be more clear. So I'm excited about the next 75 days. We're going to make sure that she wins Arizona and wins the election.
Across town at the Palmer House Hilton was the 51 Stars DC Statehood Luncheon, hosted by the DC Shadow Senator Paul Strauss and the Creative Coalition.
Great that we are here to keep hope alive, and that we have Reverend Jackson here is a special pleasure for all of us. We want to thank our Congresswoman, all of our officials on the DC Council who are here. Did you hear the huge applause from that stadium when I said we will work together to become the 51st state? And I think everybody in this room, senators, our statehood delegation should be very proud of the work that we have done, because we have now educated Democrats. We have educated them on the cause of statehood. We have educated our own electorate, because 86% of them have voted to make DC the 51st state. Congresswoman Norton has passed the Admissions Act with her colleagues 2 times. We have more United States senators supporting supporting statehood than ever before. So all that's to say, and as I have said, when all the political winds are moving in the right direction, we will become the 51st state. And we have to be ready, DC. Are we ready, DC? So that means that the leadership of the House and the leadership of the Senate have to be ready to move on DC statehood without delay. I believe it has to be a 100-day agenda item. And as I said this morning, I call it the democracy agenda. How do we make our democracy and our union more perfect? And that is to ensure that every tax-paying American has representation in the United States Capitol, and that every one of us in the district, through our elected leadership, has full autonomy. And we can only get that by becoming the 51st state.
I mean, I've been talking to Senator Paul Strauss for many years on this, and I think one of the things that we've seen is a massive gridlock in our Senate and in our House of Representatives. And I think, it would be really remarkable to be able to bring DC on board, as well as, there's a lot of conversation. People go back and forth on this on Puerto Rico, but being Puerto Rican myself and my grandmother, one of the biggest things for her was leaving Puerto Rico and coming to New York and being able to vote not just for the president, but down ticket. And I think, obviously with the issues that are affecting specifically around climate change, specifically around housing in Puerto Rico, there's so many in debt, there's so many different things where they need proper representation for, and it's very much the same thing in DC, and I think those voices deserve to be heard and have a seat at the table, and I think it would completely shake up politics in a really positive way and start making things actually feel like they can move and maneuver. There have been some really great, people like Mr. Strauss over here have been really great about championing this for a really long time.
Dule, it would be great if there was some document that helped people understand why we need statehood for Washington, D.C.
There is. It's called the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, that's how it begins, which means all of us who live in Washington, D.C., too, we should all have representation. And that means we should all support statehood for the District of Columbia.
If you believe that all Americans deserve representation, support our campaign for D.C. statehood.
With Case for Kindness, we have the Dalai Lama, Garth Brooks, Ben Affleck, Lady Gaga, Luis Miranda, and Tim Shriver from Special Olympics, and just we tried to use a lot of different people that spread across the gamut of the political lines, storylines, and who really showcase kindness in their everyday lives. I don't think there's ever been a time where politically, if you have opposite opinions, that you can't have a conversation. And that's what we're hoping to do is not see red, not see blue, but see purple. And Garth Brooks talks about it in the documentary about how music can transcend political parties and and make people see purple and get along. And that's kind of what we want to do, is find the commonalities within people so we can start having a conversation. And once you start having that conversation, you can start learning and listening, and that's a key to, I think, moving forward. You can go to caseforkindness.com to learn more.
For centuries, mankind has been intertwined in a battle of kindness versus cruelty. History has taught us that when we face adversity, kindness is the most effective weapon against indifference.
Nonviolence is the answer.
And as time moves on, we're often reminded just how fragile life can be without kindness.
Hospital admissions in the U.S. Health Organization is now classifying the virus as a global pandemic.
When COVID hit, the world came together like never before.
You started seeing all these acts of kindness happening.
People were singing from the balconies and applauding at 7 p.m. for all the first responders.
And then that changed quickly.
We're looking at some of the biggest issues plaguing us today.
Someone wants me to commit suicide so badly, maybe I should just do it.
How can you hate me when you don't even know me?
It's very weird to think that I am in this world because of the kindness of an evil person.
We work on both sides of the gun.
I want to look at all these issues that we're facing from a perspective of kindness.
My mission is to better understand the concepts of kindness before it's too late.
Civil war. It's where we're heading.
We have to do something to reduce these conflicts.
Why are you being so mean in trying to be good?
By talking with scientists and experts to understand the effects kindness can have on our body physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Very threatening thing to imagine that a lot of the beliefs you've been operating under may be false.
We're meeting people and hearing their personal stories on how choosing kindness changed their lives.
The kindness that's been shown to me, it's really saved my life.
I believe that kindness is the fundamental building block in our daily lives that can ultimately determine the fate of humanity. And I'm proving it with a case for kindness.
Of our part of the luncheon is kindness, because we're also honoring and saluting a great documentary, which you'll hear about in a second, called A Case for Kindness. And we talked the filmmakers into showcasing here at the Democratic Convention. No other time in the United States, in this nation, do we need to make a case for kindness. So just to get you in the mood, I present to you Tim Daly and the Wild Bunch.
I would never attend an anti-war rally, but would attend a peace rally. Mother Teresa.
Kindness involves taking a risk on other people, said Timothy Shriver, chair of the Special Olympics.
No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Aesop Rocky said that. No. Aesop. Aesop. Oh, I thought it was Rihanna's husband. Okay. Well, I'm going to go off script right now and find another quote that I need to read. Both tears and sweat are salty, but they render a different result. Tears will get you sympathy. Sweat will get you change. And those words were said by my friend and fraternity brother right there, Mr. Reverend Jesse Jackson.
I cannot top that, but I will say this. Carry out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward, safe in the knowledge that one day someone might do the same for you, Princess Diana.
Kindness is the language that the deaf can hear and the blind can see. That was by Mark Twain. It's pretty good. Okay.
Be kind whenever possible, and it is always possible. The Dalai Lama.
In a world where you can be anything, be kind, said author Jennifer Dukes Lee.
Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world, said Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
It takes courage to be kind, Maya Angelou.
Yeah!
Being kind means responding to the needs of others, and people can be kind no matter how old or young we are. My man, Mr. Rogers.
Short and sweet. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not, Dr. Seuss.
Just in the name of all that's being worked for here today, in the words of the great Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done.
An America where we, the people, includes everyone. Because that's the only way this American experiment works. And despite what our politics might suggest, I think most Americans understand that. Democracy isn't just a bunch of abstract principles and dusty laws in some book somewhere. It's the values we live by. It's the way we treat each other, including those who don't look like us, or pray like us, or see the world exactly like we do. That sense of mutual respect has to be part of our message. Our politics have become so polarized these days that all of us across the political spectrum seem so quick to assume the worst in others, unless they agree with us on every single issue. We start thinking that the only way to win is to scold and shame and out-yell the other side. And after a while, regular folks just tune out, or they don't bother to vote. Now, that approach may work for the politicians who just want attention and thrive on division, but it won't work for us. To make progress on the things we care about, the things that really affect people's lives, we need to remember that we've all got our blind spots and contradictions and prejudices, and that if we want to win over those who aren't yet ready to support our candidates, we need to listen to their concerns.
I feel a lot of enthusiasm, a lot more than I've had at any other convention, except maybe Obama's in 08. But it's that same feeling because it's a lot more younger people that I've seen at a convention in a long time.
These Democrats are really good at winning and quitting and losing and quitting. We have to do something long term because it's democracy. So when Kamala entered the ticket, we were ready. 25,000 new volunteers in Florida in 3 weeks.
It's the final night of the DNC. The nominee has not yet taken the stage. There's a 2-hour wait of people to get in right now. You know, one thing that people don't talk about is all the incredible amount of people that put this together. From both parties, people who work very low-paying jobs with very long hours and incredibly high stress. Just a sincere thanks. Folks, these are actual soldiers at the front lines of democracy. We owe them a debt of gratitude.
Kamala Harris is going to fight for the middle class, for working families, and for the most vulnerable among us. And it's a clear difference in this race. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to fight for our families. We need to win in November.
We are here on the floor, and it is a popular and busy place.
I think it's obviously going to be an incredible fight to the finish, but I like our odds because Kamala is fighting for the future and Trump is fighting for the past. And I think that's a fight we want to have, and she will ultimately win, but only after a fierce battle over the next 2.5 months.
One of my favorite people, about to be former representative of KO, Bill Swad. What was the first time you were on my show? 10 years ago?
10 years ago. I think about 10 years ago.
I actually came to Iowa because of the Iowa caucuses. I love the last bastion of democracy. The Democrats don't participate in Iowa caucuses anymore. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, we participate. It's just that it was taken away as being first of the state, in the country. But the thing is, you look at what's going on here, look at the delegates that are here now, we're still in the process. We're still, you got to be number one in the heart. Being number one on a national level, that's cosmetic to me. Systemic is when you get it from the heart, so they never can take that away from you. You look around today at the enthusiasm that's here. We got a chance to make history, not just for a party, but for the nation. We got a chance to put people over politics. And if we do that, then we're going to change the game. We're going to quit playing the game. We're going to change the game.
It was like a flash. And then there was this boom.
we thought it was clouds because we thought we were dead. There was an element out there that wanted to see the Black Panther Party and the police clash. I felt every one of those bullets. They said, you got to get to the hospital. I went through them steel doors. That's when my baby laid on the gurney with a hole in his chest. That's when in Des Moines, the neighborhood became the hood. We all felt that our days were numbered. He picked up the police officer and turned and set him on the other side. The Black Panther Party, that's when everything began to turn. You don't know death the way I know death. When I drive up and see that wall and see my son's name on that wall and all the other people that I watched die in this community, I feel it each day. My name is Akeo Abdul-Samad.
Kamala Harris just accepted the nomination for presidency of the United States, and I tell you right now, it looks like it's their game to be beat. It's been a great week here in Chicago. My best wishes to both parties and all the operatives who are about to hit the streets. Reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friends. Let's do this together.
Smile, Mariah.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.